name's Cosmin Tiku, and I lead the data science and analytics team at Kahua. We focus on customer solutions and internal analytics. So for those that are not too familiar with Kahua, I'll give you just a brief introduction. We are the leading project management platform for construction. From cost management, workflows, document administration, to analytics, trending, capital planning with our asset-centric methodology, our platform is designed to assist you throughout the construction project lifecycle. That's from inception to handover and for the project after the project. So with that in mind, at Kahua, my team provides analytics solutions to our customers to help them drive insights from their data. Our main tool in that is the product that we own called Kahua Analytics, and it is Power BI running inside of our platform. We've enabled a two-way communication and a seamless transition between Kahua and Power BI. With my background in mind, it is my privilege today to moderate our panel on the data-driven world and to be with our panelists today. So I'm joined by two analytics and data science subject matter experts, Taylor Last and Sid Shah, and I will let them introduce themselves. Taylor, we'll start with you.
Hey everyone, I'm Taylor Last. As Cosmin mentioned, I'm a data scientist at Kahua. I'm leading some of our AI and machine learning initiatives that we have going on, and I'm excited to be here today to discuss how data and tracking data can add value to your company.
I'll go next. Thanks, Cosmin. I'm Sid Shah, president and co-founder at unused, bringing over 20 years of experience in converging technology, construction, and finance. Our firm, we focus on revolutionizing construction project outcomes by harnessing the power of AI and data. Our advisory services team focuses on the strategic roadmaps, while our technology teams focus on the tooling. As proud partners of Kahua, we're dedicated to innovation and looking forward to discuss how we're using AI with Kahua today.
Thank you both for your introduction. It feels great to have you here with us. Before we begin the panel discussion, we do have two poll questions for the audience to help us better gauge the sentiment in the room around artificial intelligence and analytics. So the first one is, how well is our industry leveraging artificial intelligence on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 representing not at all, and 5 representing, very actively leveraging artificial intelligence. I think this is a topic that's on everyone's mind, which is why we've brought over Taylor and Sid. I think we're all big fans, and we may have certain biases towards the adoption of AI. Some of us are not going to give any names, but chronic pessimists when it comes to AI and the implementation of AI. So of course, we have a tendency, we might want to play devil's advocate. We don't think the industry might be leveraging AI, but we want to make sure we get a gist of that from you. It really helps us drive the conversation here and makes for a more fruitful Q&A at the end. And so with that in mind, we're just going to take a couple more seconds to reach about halfway on our submissions, just to make sure we have ample answers, right? As statisticians in the room, there's nothing quite like a bad data set with a flawed sample size. So we want to make sure we're really gathering as many answers as we can. And that's perfect. I see we're over 50% in terms of submission. If we could please go to the next one, just a second. I do want to take a moment here and appreciate the fact that everyone's a realist in this virtual room, and notice that while not a lot of people said 1, not at all leveraging AI, the sentiment is overall on the lesser side. So we're not really doing everything we can and should be doing with regards to AI adoption. And I think this is really important to keep in mind. If you didn't already fully believe this, whoever voted a 4 and a 5, I would love to get with you after this, and we'd love to get your opinion on why you think so. optimism is always encouraged, but I think the panelists and I are erring more on the side of a 1, 2, 3 grade on this. With that in mind, let's move on to the second poll question for our audience, and that is, how actively are you using analytics? And that's referring to platforms like Power BI, Tableau, tools for dynamic visualizations, computer vision, reporting engines. This is a bit beyond the scope of I have a siloed Excel spreadsheet that I update from time to time by manually pasting in data. This is really around the concept of data analytics. And if that's unclear, don't worry, we'll have some great answers and some great explanations from our panelists in just a moment. So obviously for this question, this is more to gauge where we are right now. I am personally hoping to see the answers gravitate more towards the middle, maybe towards the higher part here. If we're not doing as much as we should be doing in analytics, I think our outlook on AI is also particularly, I don't want to say bleak, but let's say, limited right now. And we need to do our best to understand how we can best leverage it. So this is perfect. I can see we're just at 50% submission. So we'll take a look at the answers. This is a very interesting answer. I think the panelists can also agree that we're seeing a much more even distribution between 1 and 4, but with a high emphasis on 1. It's interesting because I don't think analytics and AI are a chicken or the egg type situation. I think it's very clear what would have to come first and what comes after. And I think Sid and Taylor really help drive that for us. So with that in mind, and with our panelists' introductions in mind, let's move on to our panel discussion. We'll just take a quick moment for some definitions and to really level the playing field. And so Sid, the first one's for you. You get to actively lead an organization of very technical people, work at the forefront of newest technologies. You should be a 5 on both of those questions. Not every organization has access to in-house data science resources. So I would like for you to level the playing field and help us better understand what's meant by data analysis, engineering, science, and what do those respective analysts, engineers, and scientists do?
Cool. Great question to start today. Our discussion, you're right. We're fortunate to have a team of analysts, data scientists, and engineers. They all together form a backbone of project management. A simple way of looking is data analysts are the one who are interpreting the numbers. The data engineers are building that backbone, talking with the customers, understanding what they need to predict, and building the software behind the scenes. And data scientists are the folks who are building technology to predict outcomes. It's a trio, and data analysis in construction, end of day, will translate to better decision making based on the data they've been collecting. For instance, it's connecting about looking at past data of projects, performance, be it budgets, be it schedules, be it risk management, be it safety, and predicting what will happen from this data. Engineers are focused on building, capturing the data, building apps on platforms like Kahua to make sure they are flexible enough to capture data they didn't thought they would need it to build a model on the fly. And another simple example, imagine, weather data is available to everyone. There's APIs available out there systems. We're looking at predicting previous weather outcomes and seeing how we can focus on project delays. That's what we do at OnIndus, and we take pride in looking at data and converting into manageable, simpler actions for decision makers.
Great. Thank you for leveling the playing field a little bit. We always appreciate a good example and an explanation of knowing what these people do in all these organizations, right? Everyone's got data analysts, engineers, data scientists, and now we're going to hear from what is perhaps a newer term, a machine learning engineer, an AI engineer, and that's who we have in-house as Mr. Taylor Last, who I hope will be able to help us define AI and give us a very simple definition as well as maybe a differentiation to machine learning. We hear these terms thrown around, so we'd really appreciate some clarity on what they actually mean.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, but just taking a step back, I think I should probably define maybe what an algorithm is first before going into AI and machine learning. Um, so an algorithm is simply just a set of instructions provided by a human that lets a computer know how to solve a certain task. So let's say that you have maybe a list of numbers 1 to 10, and they're all out of order, jumbled up. So writing an algorithm might say, let's compare two numbers at a time and sort them until you have an ordered list, right? This is an algorithm called bubble sort. It's pretty famous, but it's not AI or anything like that. But it's a good baseline to lead into what AI is. So AI is a set of instructions that a computer figures out. The code is still written by a human, obviously. Well, I guess maybe not in the future, but it's still written by a human as of now. And the computer figures out a set of instructions on how to execute a certain task. So I'll take an example that I'm sure everyone knows, which is Google Maps or Waze or Apple Maps, whatever your preference might be. So let's say you're trying to get from point A to point B. There's several different routes that you can take, and I'm sure that you're not going to want to take each and every route to find what's the quickest one. So what you're going to do is you're going to resort to some AI tool that'll tell you the route that'll take the least amount of time. So assuming that all of these routes take about the same amount of time, that's just AI. But then where machine learning comes in, it's kind of a subset of AI where over time, whatever system you're using, so let's say Waze or Google Maps, will learn based on all of the data points of users out there, which routes are taking the least amount of time given a certain feature set. So let's take another example. Let's say you're trying to get to work on a certain day, right? And there's 5 different routes to get to work. And you know one of the routes takes the least amount of time. You're going to take that route. But then let's say one day you're running maybe an hour late and it takes 40% longer to get to work. Next time you're running a little late, you might shift that assumption, right? And take it a little bit of a different route. And that's kind of how those models are working, right? So they're updating assumptions based on previous times to completion. And hopefully that kind of illustrates the difference between machine learning and AI.
I think it does. Like I said, it's great to have an example and to have a concrete and daily life example of AI and already in use. But I do hear machine learning a whole lot, maybe even more than AI when it comes to building products and delivering results and statistics out to our constituents. So I'd love it if you could give us just a very brief overview as a follow-up to this question of the machine learning algorithms. We wouldn't necessarily need in-depth algorithmic descriptions, but are there certain types and themes that we should be aware of how an AI's brain might work that can help us explain how it gets to a certain conclusion?
Yeah, for sure. And I won't get into the specifics like you requested. There's different algorithms, like maybe you've heard of neural networks or random forests or other types. But I won't get into that. I'll stick to kind of the high level 2 categories of machine learning. So there's one called supervised learning and another called unsupervised learning. And I think the best way of distinguishing these two is to give an example. So I'll take the classic example that everyone uses when they come up and explain the difference between these two. So let's say that you have 2 data sets. The first one being a data set of images that are containing cats and dogs. And that first data set also has labels associated with an image. So let's say that there's an image of a dog. There would be a label that's associated with it that says dog. There's a cat, it says cat. And then this second data set doesn't have that label. So it's just the image of a cat and a dog. So in the supervised learning setting, where you have that label, what a model is going to try to do is it's going to send out a prediction and compare that prediction to whatever label that might be associated with each image and iterate over time and learn a set of weights that pretty much learns, okay, this is going to be a cat or this is going to be a dog based on this image. In the unsupervised setting, you won't have that label. So all the model's trying to do is it's trying to cluster those into two different categories, whether it be a cat or dog, it doesn't really know a label. But then you can imagine the power behind that. You could feed it an unlabeled data set, and it could classify what that image might be. So if you apply that to construction, where you might not have too many labeled images, so let's say like assets, for example, right? It might cluster certain assets that are similar and group them into the same category. So that's just one use case that you might have in the unsupervised setting.
Great. Thank you for this overview. I think the power really stands in the unsupervised models, like you were saying. It's untapped, and it's just a matter of us making sense of this organized mess that comes out of it. Ultimately, the unlabeled stuff. This is where the human brain, the human mind is still needed. So, you know, we've defined all of our terms, and I can see that we're being quite hopeful about these, right? We got the panel experts. They're at the forefront of these. But I would like to ask Sid, again, from the perspective of a director of an organization, if there are certain themes around data analytics and AI to help us pinpoint where we are in this evolution. And when I say we, I mean the construction industry.
Yeah, great question. I want to look at the previous slides we had where individuals said on this panel that more than 50% are using Power BI in some capacity. So looking at that results of this group, we're at a very pivotal moment, in data analytics. 10 years ago, we were beating the drum. There's no digitizations. There's no data. We're shifting. A lot of owners are realizing that they have to digitize. They have those dashboards out there. And now the AI wave is following it. We got some data. We're looking at how do we use this data to make it a lot more smarter. We're moving. The industries are moving. Not just their 30, 40 years of experiences in the construction field, they're moving from their gut and now looking at, let me combine my knowledge that I've learned in the last 20 years, 10 years as an engineer, and looking at data, what data is telling the story. It's getting more prudent out there. For example, there has been a wave of drones last decade. My kid wants a drone just to have fun, but it's getting commercialized. A lot of cities, counties are buying drones, and a lot of large owners are investing in the technology to fly over those drones and collecting imagery so that they can apply AI on that to see real project outcomes. So similarly, there are different waves happening in the industry, and we're lucky to be in this era of AI in construction today.
I can see you're hopeful about this, right? Technology adoption, where we're headed. I'm glad you're steering us in this direction. But I hear something really important here, and it's around how paramount data is, the importance of data. And so I'd like to throw this question out to our machine learning expert here and someone who works with data all the time. Taylor, we've heard this time and time again that we don't know how important our data is. We don't really understand its value. We may treasure it. There may be a monetary value on it, but we're not really sure how to tap into it. Why is it important to track data in a system or a platform like Kahua?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. We could talk about machine learning and AI all day, but nothing really matters if you don't have any data. So that's one thing. I guess I'll give an example. Another one to kind of emphasize the importance of data in construction. So let's say that you're an owner and you're trying to evaluate maybe why a project went over budget or why several projects are going over budget. Well, first things first, if you don't track spend on those projects, right, you might not even know that you went over budget in the first place. You're not going to know how much you went over budget, technically, if you don't track anything. And then I guess take it one step farther, how are you going to know what caused you to go over budget? So if you can't tie any of your data on your budget to certain project data, whether that be RFIs, submittals, invoices, whatever you're interested in. You can't do that if you don't have all of your data consolidated in one system. So that is one thing that's extremely nice about Kahua, and Kahua makes it very easy to tie everything together, is that if you have all of your project data in one place, our analytics platform, you can see consolidated information about maybe why you went over budget on a certain project, right? Let's take that one step further and then get into the AI and ML space. Let's say that that same owner has a bunch of assumptions going into a certain project, right? So whether it be their original budget, how long they expect the project to last, everything that goes along with planning. They can feed those assumptions directly into a model that's trained on their own historical data. And as that project goes, the model can spit out predictive risks, so maybe problems they'll run into and how that will affect their budget and overall spend throughout time as they go. And that's just one use case of tracking data. There's several more, and you can kind of see the power and how it can save you significant capital.
So just to reiterate, I think you've touched on a couple of different topics here. One is the need to have a platform solution, a single data repository. Then it's the need to have an analytics or a reporting platform, an ability to synthesize, aggregate that data and look at it from a historic perspective. And then with all that data in mind and with the platform in mind, you're able to look to be forward facing. And that's where AI really comes in. But it's this last stage. And I want to emphasize just how important that is, because you'll see the next question I have for you is, I want you to each provide a simple example of AI in the construction industry. This is going to be a question for both of our panelists. Okay. I would like to start with Sid here, and Taylor, feel free to interject or to add on to Sid's point whenever you want.
So in our industry, AI is getting common. You all may not recognize it, but AI is around you, in you. For example, we use Google Business Suite for our Gmail, email, and other technology. Google launched a concept called Smart Compose. It's reading your email, predicting you with 5 options, and even writing your email for you. That's AI. You're using AI to respond. Then Copilot is another software that Microsoft launched, and we're all connected to it. Like, meetings are being recorded. That's like the simplest easy example that unknowingly we all use AI to enhance our administrative tasks today. These are basic, but yes, we never asked for it. Just Microsoft and Google just pushed to us, and I love those technologies. And beyond this entry level, there are advanced users in the industry. We work with a lot of owners who are actively focusing on data collection. They understand the value of data, and we're taking their data and predicting outcomes based on the data. That's how I see as simple as using in construction in our daily lives today.
Great. Taylor, would you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I guess when I think of current AI use cases in construction, to add on to what Sid was saying, I think of BIM for predictive tasks, and then I guess predicting risks along a project, and then also some sort of safety monitoring, right? So you might have images or videos that are of a construction site, and it can identify maybe risks associated with that. And I think those two are kind of at its infancy stage right now in construction, and I would say AI in general in construction's at its infancy stage. But I really want to stress that there is a ton of room to grow here. And I think you'll see a lot of features put out, AI features, especially I know the Kahua team, we're working pretty hard on some AI features that we're going to push out in the near future. But you'll see more and more in the coming years.
Thank you both for an overview of, how AI is already in our industry a little bit. But I think what people came here for is to understand how AI can get into our industry. What problems can it solve? What help us with the existing and the potential new challenges that arise for this industry. So as a follow-up to this example. We get it. We have text helpers, we have admin task helpers, but I want to ask each of you, what are some challenges in the construction industry right now where you think AI has potential? It hasn't been built or tested or mature yet, but where do you think it has potential? And for that, we'll reverse it. We'll start with Taylor first.
Yeah, okay. So at Kahua, we're developing features for, I guess if you want to categorize it into like 3 different areas. One, which is the most obvious one, is helping mitigate risk. The second one is improving communication between project stakeholders. And then the third is organization of data, and then also providing quick access to the data that you're looking for, which is a use case that you'll see in a video later in this presentation from Sid. And I would say communication issues arise from just the sheer amount of volume that goes along with construction, but sheer amount of volume of information that goes along with a construction project, and that has to be managed. And oftentimes that information will come in several different forms, whether it be drawings or PDFs, tabular data, Excel sheets. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? So one important thing, and we stressed this earlier, is to have one single source of truth for all of that data and consolidate it into one platform so that you can actually build some of these features, right? And we've just scratched the surface with Kahua Analytics that was mentioned earlier in this call. But we'll take it one step further and develop some sort of chatbot, think like ChatGPT, where you can actually chat directly with your data. And this is the video you'll actually see later in this, you'll see later. But think that the chatbot will actually not understand your data, but it'll know where to look. So think of almost like an advanced search feature where you can query exactly what you're looking for. And that chatbot will spit it back. Hey, here's the information that you were querying for. And then on the risk mitigation side, it's one of the main reasons that PMIS systems exist, in my opinion. And I think at Kahua, I mean, we're working with a team of Georgia Tech students that are working on our asset-centric solution. They're working on a model that will help owners decide where to spend their CapEx budget by pretty much saying, hey, this asset needs more attention than this asset, and saying maybe you should replace or repair this asset at this time instead of a year from now. Basically, it's a way to save costs in the long run for owners. Yeah, I think this too.
Awesome. And I just want to stress this before I hand over to Sid, just the importance of the unstructured data, understanding it, being able to query it and retrieve it with this advanced search feature. We've been spending so much time on building our platforms and our software to be as visually appealing as possible, as easy to use as possible. And you can either view this as a threat to a software because you're just able to use your natural language to retrieve everything, or as a full integration, a seamless integration between the platform solution that we spend so much time on trying to make the UI better and more friendly, and being able to just use your regular language and the way you'd normally ask someone for information. I think this is where these two meet together. We don't see them as a threat. We see them as creating synergies, integrations, to use a more technological term. And with that in mind, I would want to pass it off to Sid, as I know he would also have a great use case for AI to solve a potential challenge.
Yeah, we specifically work with large GCs and more owners, and we're already seeing that AI is revolutionizing the industry. You know, our data scientist teams and data analysts are building a tool to tackle those challenges head on. It's just to improve decision making and then predict problems before it occurs. You know, yesterday I was talking to a large owner in California, and we're just having a casual chat, and he said the cost of inspectors and CMs have gone so high. We need 10, but I only have budget for 3. It's insane, the salary cost going in California right now for an industry, and it's hard. And we were talking about, can AI help? Can we use technology to improve productivity for those team members? Can a CM, can the project management be given a pilot, somebody to help them? We believe the answer is hard yes. At OnIndus, we're seeing early results by building AI tools and seeing that how much time we can give people back so they don't have to spend time on doing those things. The AI is like giving them answers which will take them half an hour, 20, 30 minutes to analyze and predict and answer. That's gone to seconds. So we definitely believe that AI can revolutionize the project management times, project coordinators' time, and they definitely can do a lot more, and we can help the industry move forward there.
Can I just say, I think that these answers are incredibly valuable because they touch on a new group of users and people that I think PMIS systems have helped, but not to the fullest extent. And that is the heavy users, the power users, the people that input daily data, the people that are in the platforms and that are crunching numbers all the time. Being able to save project manager time, being able to save individual administrators time is incredibly valuable with things like advanced search, document retrieval, digging through unstructured data. I just want to really cement this point that we're at a pivotal point where a lot of these analytics and stats that we're providing in metrics and AI applications are not helping just around management, but they're able to help the full life cycle. So they're both, they can help us both in a horizontal sense, but also in a vertical sense with regards to the hierarchy of organizations and how information is spread out across people. Again, being able to retrieve information at an instant, feeding it and getting that data with your natural language is a great value add for all of our daily users. So thank you both for those answers. And I think this got me really, really excited. And we hear this question all the time, whether it's directly Kahua related, or we're working with a partner, we're working with a firm that got in touch because they heard of us on a webinar or on LinkedIn. We get this question that they want to know how to organize a strategy around AI and how to get started taking advantage of AI. So Sid, leading an organization that is actively leveraging AI and also building AI products, do you have any words of wisdom here for how an org might be able to get started taking advantage of AI?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, in California, we launched a product called Indus Relay, and got a lot of interest. But beware, AI is a journey that requires a solid foundation. Like, we just can't work and buy some chips from NVIDIA and works. No, we need some solid foundation. This is a whole process of cleaning the data, making it understand it's accurate. One of the owners I showed managing $34 billion program or 50, and he said, "Good, but we know that we don't have a solid data foundation. It will take us a couple of years to start using it." And another owner I spoke last week, also another university in East Coast, they said, "This is what we want, but I need to first go and teach my PMs on fixing forecasting and cash flow data to do that." Partnering with a firm like us, we can help and provide guidance. There's maybe a use case that you have good data for and can predict AI on that, or maybe there's some plumbing required to get data. We have a short video to share what we're building with Kahua, and let's take a look.
Relay can quickly provide answers to your financial questions, like, what are the total budget changes approved for Trade Street Road Safety Project? What about schedule insights, like, are there specific tasks that consistently face delays across all projects? Or which tasks are running behind the scheduled end date for the Education Department and Feasibility Project? It It can also be leveraged for resource management. What if we asked, who are the project managers handling more than 5 projects? Relay can even provide predictive analysis. Let's ask it to predict the chances of finishing Wake County redevelopment project within the budget. Wow, how amazing!
Thank you for that short video, Sid. And I think it does drive the point home in terms of data retrieval and just the power of getting all your information out in a summarized, synthesized, aggregated way, which is what ultimately most of us are after as active and avid users of PMIS systems. But of course, and you've touched upon this a little bit, and I heard it as a challenge, but I really want to dig deeper in here and ask you, what challenges do owners face in implementing these AI solutions, and how can they be overcome? How can you help overcome these challenges for them potentially?
Yeah, so, as I said before, what you showed was a preview. We're building a model for an owner where we're testing about commonly asked 60 questions by their peers. And once they start solving that, then they have another set of 50 questions they want to solve and predict. A lot of owners who are looking at this AI technology built upon Kahua software, they also have to realize that they need to break their own data silos. Softwares like Kahua, other similar technologies provides a lot of apps, a lot of functionalities, and there's a lot of resistance. Owners who are in the maturity curve of level 1, level 2, who are still moving from PDF, paper forms, they have a way to go, and they need to look at as an AI tool or as a data analysis perspective, what does my PMs need to be more effective? What does my project coordinators, engineers need? And focus on those people first. Look at what's your project playbook, what is your asset playbook, and then look at, okay, if we solve these 5 playbook items, we can definitely leverage AI. Yeah, and on this, we have a separate AI team. We're working with owners who are already using Kahua or using other softwares, and they have collected data of 2-3 years. They've collected data for 6 years. They're able to get this sooner. And owners who are still catching up or implementing systems, they got few weeks, few months to go. And tool like Kahua, which is flexible, if you're using a safety tool outside, or if you're using a minority tool outside, holistically, AI becomes easier if we have less data sets to play. If we, right now, a nominal owner would have 4 to 8 software just for managing construction, project management industry. We're looking at Kahua and other softwares. We're consolidating into 1 to 2. That also minimizes and makes faster AI deployment over there.
I think this drives the point home. This is the biggest challenge that we see with AI analytics, data science adoption overall, is the lack of data standardization, data models, having engineering pipelines, and having all the systems communicate with each other. So we're not only, it would be a privilege for us to be plagued by the infamous saying of garbage in, garbage out. We have yet to get to the point of where we can gauge whether what we're putting into our systems and trying to get as an output can even be classified as garbage data or good data, appropriate data. I think we're looking too far ahead, and we're not focused on where we are right now, what needs to happen, a checklist, all the requirements that need to be ticked. So you're absolutely right in iterating these challenges. And so I'd love to continue in this trend of potential problems and touch on the risks a little bit. Again, we have our machine learning engineer and subject matter expert here who would be able to tell us a little bit about the risks surrounding AI. So Taylor, this one's for you. We often hear terms like model hallucinations and misclassifications, predictive model failures, AI, false information, false positive, false negatives. What are some risks associated with AI related products, specifically in construction? If you could help us understand how they might impact our industry.
Yeah, definitely. There's a ton of risks that come along with AI, especially in its current state. There's risks that'll come with the more traditional tabular predictions. So going back to that budget example that I was mentioning earlier, you could have risks there. You could get incorrect predictions that may be slightly off, but slightly off could be big enough for whatever your business may be, that it might not fit your needs. And when that happens, you have to trust your own intuition. Right now, I would just view it as a tool to assist you, and one that hopefully is going to speed up the process, speed up your project, and save you time and money. Same thing with some of these generative models. Some of these tools, they're all probabilistic, so they'll spit out words and information that may be false. It might not be correct at all. It might not be relevant. And that's just the nature of it right now. As we go along, it's happening less and less as there's more data for each, I guess, company using it. And as the AI models continue to get better, the amount of, they're called hallucinations, will decrease. But it is something to be wary of right now. And I think that you need to trust your own intuition along with some of these tools.
Can I just say that I think this was a scientist's answer of a very hopeful, knowing that ultimately when we add more data, it will definitely get better. And I really like this optimistic answer. But I'd also like to understand what we need to do right now, perhaps some precautions that we can take and we can put in place as we begin to wade into the AI pool. And for that, I'd actually like to pass it off to Sid. Might be able to tell us, are there precautions we can take right now? We get it, hallucinations are bound to happen. Misclassifications, issues are bound to happen, and they'll get better with time. But what can we do right now if we are adopting these things, if we're at the forefront, if we're brave enough to be at the forefront?
Yeah. We add on in this, it's kind of interesting space. We advise both public sector and private sector. Like last few weeks, we're having conversations about AI with our owners on the public sectors. And we're hearing a lot of pushback in terms of there's, the CIOs have been pushed from the states and say, let's hold off. It's scary right now. We don't know what to do. And then we're also looking at private sector who is going after it and doing experiments. So it's kind of a mixed sentiments from different verticals. But, like any tool, like any technology, think of AI as an enabler. It's initial. If you're early in the stage and if you have an initiative that you're planning, if you're planning for your next years, look for ideas in the team where you're having the most pain, where you're having the most problems, and run with small. We have 4 major problems, for example. We're having compliance issues, or we're running invoicing too late, or we can't really measure safety, though we have safety data in our systems. Find a problem that's tangible and then explore. Let's run a pilot on that use case. A small pilot could be just figuring out how we can apply invoice review as an owner, as a contractor, as a subcontractor, how we can apply AI on that, run on a couple projects, measure the outcome, and then roll out. So there's a lot of small nuggets, big nuggets, but if you're early in the spectrum of using AI for your capital projects, I wholly suggest that pick up the use cases and run on pilot, and then proceed into launching it full.
Thanks, Sid. It sounds like we got maybe 2 different takes here on the problem of, I don't know how cold the water is. Do I just jump in, or at least halfway? I get my lower body in it, or do I just dip my toes and then decide accordingly? And I like both answers. I can't say I gravitate more towards one, though. If I had to pick, I think I would be more on the adoption side right now. Jump on the bandwagon, start using it. don't just dip your toes in it. Take a leap in, but do not spend all of your resources on something like this. But it's always great to get both of your perspectives here. And so I just want to let our audience know that we'll open it up for Q&A in just a couple of minutes. And until then, I want to kick off with what I would consider a potentially Q&A question, what I've been dying to ask both of you, as I think you might have slightly different answers here. So before we open up for Q&A, we'll start with Taylor. Just a very broad topic here, but we've talked about this new hot topic, buzzwords, $10 terms, outlook on adoption. It's all been very positive and encouraging. But I'd like to play devil's advocate and ask you if you think AI is a fad that is overhyped or has potential to be a fad that's overhyped.
Okay. I guess my short answer would be no. I don't think it's overhyped. I think that it's going to definitely change the industry, whether that be in the field itself. So as Sid was mentioning, with drones, or earlier in this discussion, or whether it be taking in a picture of a room and getting punch list items from that. It could be anything that would help expedite the process directly in the field. You might think of those as even like robots that could be in the field, and I think that's farther out. But in the construction project management space, it's going to be a huge disruptor. It completely expedites the process, and you can get the information that you're looking for like that. You saw it in that tool, which Sid, I thought was a great representation of the power of some of the things that you can do when you have all of your data stored in one location, and you can easily retrieve what you're looking for. It's a powerful visualization for sure. But I guess, like I said, my short answer would be no, I don't think it's overhyped. It's going to definitely be a disruptor.
Great. Sid, would you care to add to that? What is your take on hyping up AI?
My perspective, it's a powerful tool, but it's not for all programs. It's like AI is not mature yet that we can buy it off the shelf. So you have to develop AI for you, and its application should be based on a need, not just it's cool. I want to apply AI because I want to be cutting edge. It's also about, is it good enough for me? Do I have a program size? Like we work with some small owners too, where capital program is 20, 40 million, and they have one handful of 14, 30 projects going on. A simple dashboard Power BI tool is good enough and sufficient for that, because if there are 4 PMs and a director and a handful of projects can be managed. They're fortunate to have that kind of capacity to manage the project. But we have owners where they have thousands of renovation projects, and then they need to continuously predict which project to start, which project to stop. And it's a game of chess, and they have to make those decisions, unfortunately, every 2 weeks because there's an emergency happening. So for that, AI could be a helpful tool over there. So you need to have a certain size of a problem where you think that, okay, we're overburdened, we can't really make decisions every day. Let's use technology. AI is a perfect fit to come for rescue there.
Awesome. I like this take. Ultimately, it does present a slight use case where AI may be overkill. Certain efforts may be overkill. I think there are examples like that. Let's not kid ourselves. It's not the end all be all, but it's got such potential to disrupt 99% of what we're doing in the industry in terms of administering, working with software, being more efficient, tracking things. So I think there's a lot of value here, and thank you both for such an optimistic answer to an otherwise devil's advocate question. So with that in mind, I would like to go to Q&A, but right before that, I'd just like to let our audience know that we have a part 3 to this webinar series for the 2024 trends. It will focus on sustainability, decarbonization, and of course, the data-driven world. So you will hear topics around Kahua's use of sustainability and what we've done around sustainability apps. And before we start reading off some of these questions, if you could just take a moment to let us know if you would like to be contacted for additional information, whether that is to set up demos, to take a look at some of the software that you've seen, that you've heard of, or if you want to connect with us as a one-on-one, we're more than happy to have these chats with you. We think it's really important to spread the word of AI, tech, Kahua, on Indus, and what we're doing as software vendors and at the forefront of these enabling technologies. So we'll leave the questions, the poll question up for now, and I will be looking into our Q&A chat to pick a couple of questions for our panelists to answer. Hopefully we'll have enough time to get through them. And I can see one here. The earliest one that came in was from Camille, who said, outside of Power BI, how does Kahua include AI in its functionalities? How will Kahua implement and invest in AI in the future? And I'll hand that over to Taylor in just a second. But I wanted to say the first thing is being able to hand it off to Taylor and to Taylor's team is the first step in how we're investing in AI and our resources. Taylor gets to lead and be at the forefront of these initiatives, and is able to work with a very varied team across our entire organization, from sales to product, and we definitely have the talent to prove for it. So Taylor, please take it away.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I can consolidate this question with another one that I see from Dave Thomas that says, does software like Kahua integrate chatbot or other AI tools built in? If not, is it to come soon? So we are actively working on some of these tools. They're still early on in their stage of, I guess, ideation to production. One thing we're focusing on right now is getting some sort of data retrieval tool directly into Kahua, similar to that tool that Sid showed earlier, and running it on Kahua premise. So that chatbot will not be making calls to external ones like ChatGPT. It'll be Kahua's own GPT, if you want to view it like that. Not trained by us. We're actually getting the model weights directly from an open source company. So that is how we're going to integrate that in. You'll see it pretty soon in the platform. It will also be able to enhance content. So whether there's an unlimited text field within an RFI, and you want to maybe change some of that text to improve communication between you and the owner, or you and a contractor, whoever it may be, maybe make the response more concise, add more detail, change the tone, whatever it might be. Those are two different use cases of some AI tools. And then getting to the more tabular format, we are building, as I mentioned, some tools to supplement our asset-centric solution. So providing predictions about assets and how we can provide owners a better idea of which assets to focus on. I think that those are the main use cases that we're looking at AI at Kahua. So,
thanks, Taylor. Sid,
Yep.
I got two questions for you from the Q&A chat that I'm kind of trying to group together here. The first one's more around if you would be willing to send a link to the AI query software that was shown during the webinar. Show it off again. Should people contact you for this? How should this work for them to see this software in action?
Yeah, they can contact me. We have a private video link we can definitely share. So reach out to me. I'm available on LinkedIn, or you can go to our On Indus website. We'll definitely respond back to you within 24 hours.
Awesome. And then another one for you is, what is your advice for managing the transition to data-driven technologies and AI? This is especially around change management, from what I can see in the intermediary stages of adoption.
Yeah, so it's implementing, any project management system, especially Kahua, if the owner is moving from an old legacy system, definitely AI could be overwhelming for them. But aligning the vision and the goal with the leadership is part one. and showing them the value. We have oftenly seen a success of what we call as adoption metrics, investing in analytics, not to track how the project is going, but building tools where we can show this was the vision we agreed to. By next quarter or 3 quarters out, we'll be leveraging A, B, C, D apps of Kahua, and then taking that usage metrics in the middle while we are collecting the data and sharing with the leadership and finding areas. Okay, this particular group of people are lacking adoption, or that particular region is lacking adoption, and focusing on giving them attention. It could be one-on-one training, it could be a monthly webinar training, could be a coffee talk, but building a reusable model and deploying it for large owners is very key, because that's one of the big resistance we're seeing it when an enterprise who have multiple sites, multiple regions applying a new tool, and they're not on the same sheet of music, they're not singing differently. It's important to manage that. So we have deployed those strategies. Once we see an 80-90% adoption, we feel like we have achieved where we wanted to take this organization there, and the remaining 10% of change will take its own due time to get there.
Thank you for that answer. That's quite hopeful. So I hope that helps our audience. I just wanted to give a very quick answer, a verbal answer to Bernie's question of referencing a number of use cases in today's meeting, and if we have a list of what Kahua is implementing. So we welcome you getting in touch with us for a demo and for a more specific discussion. Taylor has mentioned a lot of different use cases. We're pretty much working on all of them, and if you'd like to see some of these in action, please reach out and we'll connect you accordingly. And I think we do have time for just one more question, and I think it ties into to one of Taylor's answers from the panel discussion. Is there any standard or qualification that we can use to identify an AI model that's mature enough to trust? Do we always have to take it with a grain of salt and have to accept predictions with care? This is coming from Raheel.
I think this is a great question. It's something that a lot of companies are actually going after right now in the large language model space. Think, again, GPT, ChatGPT, on how to evaluate how good a response is from these, right? Is it factual? Is it relevant? There's a bunch of different metrics. We are looking into exactly how we're going to evaluate our model once it's production ready. And we plan on directly just sharing that with you to let you know, hey, here's our level of confidence in this model. If it's a more tabular, easy prediction, so let's just say accuracy, and it's predicting true or false on something, then that's a little bit more straightforward on how good or how bad is a model, and can we push that to production. But I think being transparent in how good or bad a model is one thing that's extremely important, especially in this space.
Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, I'm glad that we're at the forefront of this and are able to create our own terms and our own ways of evaluating AIs. But yes, please proceed with caution. Ultimately, this is what we would like to leave you with. And with that in mind, we're coming up on time right now, and so I would like to thank everyone for joining our webinar, for tuning in. I'd like to thank our panelists for a very fruitful and insightful discussion. Please do not hesitate to reach out to any of us to schedule demos and follow-ups with Kahua and unused. And we'd love to learn what you are doing around AI. So do not hesitate to reach out.